I've always known, but around the age of 24, which was in 1986, my awareness of spirit was becoming extremely obvious to me, and I found nothing more exciting. I had a very strong urge to relocate from Massachusetts to Maine. I desperately needed to get myself out of the rat race and to a place where people are a little more laid back. By the age of 30, I lived deep in the woods of Maine, and I owned a 28-acre wildlife sanctuary. I attended a weekly spiritual group, which I loved and made some great friends. There were at least 10 of us who got together once a week, and this is where we discovered our God-given strengths and gifts. This is where I learned the reason that I am super sensitive is because I'm an empath, and the mysteries of my life finally began to make sense. There was a lovely lady named Jill in the group who channeled the spirit of a Tibetan monk named Tejwa, to whom I felt a very close spiritual connection. He was an etheric surgeon who probably helped me in more ways than I can comprehend. He was also very funny, and he messed with me all the time. I loved it. Fast forward a few more years to 1996. I was home alone one day looking out my picture window when I started seeing colors moving in between the upper branches of the tall pine trees at the end of my long driveway. I couldn't believe my eyes. A rainbow? On a dry day? A rainbow that moves? I grabbed my camera and started to run down the 700-foot long driveway. I could see that it didn't arc up in the center. It was actually inverted. It arced down in the center, sort of like a smile. I remember it like yesterday. I was in total awe. The picture does the rainbow no justice. The rainbow was absolutely beautiful, and the colors were vivid. I was dumbstruck. I had never seen a moving rainbow before that day or since. Oh, how I wish I had owned a video camera back then so you could see it for yourself. I knew it meant something really big, but I didn't know what.
What does this mean? Oh! Oh my God. Oh! Oh, God. It's so bright. Oh my God, it's so bright and vivid. Oh! Oh! Oh!
A couple days later, I went to see Tejwa, the etheric surgeon. I hadn't told anyone in my spiritual group about the rainbow yet. Tejwa would have been the first. But before I had a chance to tell him, he brought up the subject. He already knew all about it. He loved doing that kind of stuff to me, and I always got a huge kick out of it. But he wouldn't tell me what it meant. Tejwa knew a lot of stuff, and he proved it to me all the time, but he never gave psychic readings because he felt I would benefit more from the lessons. And he was right.
What does this mean? Oh! Oh my God. Oh! Oh, God. It's so bright. Oh my God, it's so bright and vivid. Oh! Oh! Oh!
Then one of his invisible surgical assistants, who was listening to our conversation, asked him a question, and Tejwa answered,
"No, not yet."
I couldn't hear the question, so Tejwa told me that his student was surprised and asked,
"Doesn't she know who she is?"
Nope, I didn't, and I still don't have a clue. The only thing Tejwa ever told me was that I had the ability to channel. I soon realized it was true, but I didn't know how to tell friend from foe. So a few years later, after I moved away and lost touch with Tejwa and the group, I stopped all communication with the spirit world. Basically, I went on strike, and I promised myself that I wouldn't communicate with spirits unless I knew who they were. Smart move. Now, 15 years later, I'm channeling Christ, and he's telling me that the rainbow appearing above the trees was the very moment when I reached the crown chakra, and it was beautiful. Remember, the trees represent the human nervous system, and the rainbow represents the human chakra system connecting to God.
They came to Bethsaida, and some people brought a blind man and begged Jesus to touch him. He took the blind man by the hand and led him outside the village. When he had spit on the man's eyes and put his hands on him, Jesus asked, "Do you see anything?" He looked up and said,
I see people. They look like trees walking around.
Once more Jesus put his hands on the man's eyes. Then his eyes were opened, his sight was restored, and he saw everything clearly.
Christ reminded me of something I read in a book long ago. The pituitary and the pineal function together when they are open, causing what is known as the Ark of the Covenant. It is a rainbow light that arcs over the top of the head, from the fourth eye to the third eye area. This is one of the decoding mechanisms for higher dimensional language.
I have set my rainbow in the clouds, and it will be the sign of the covenant between me and the earth.
As far as I'm concerned, this is all the proof I need that the Bible is not only describing what happens outside of ourselves, but also inside of ourselves. You know, on earth as it is in heaven. But maybe you need more proof, and I'm more than happy to oblige as we continue this series. One more thing. I also recently learned that all of the suffering that I have experienced since then has been a crucifixion of the flesh and connecting to the higher chakras, which is all part of the ascension process. This has not been fun, but it is so worth it. This pain has been diagnosed and labeled fibromyalgia. You may have heard of this epidemic, but I know better. Done.